Right, and see, the best value of this session would be if it'll sound really odd in front of an audience, but if we forgot about the audience, because we are going to, it's a fireside chat, so let's make it a fireside chat. We go back a long way, and let's talk about crucial issues about the industry, and we've always been I know you've always been very passionate about them. So, see, the biggest issue currently, which everyone talks about, is penetration, uh, insurance for all, how to really address that. So, answer it as you like, but I think the penetration issue, should we measure it with premium by GDP? Should we look at protection gap? And how should we really make it so it's actionable by the insurance industry and we can do something about it? And what should we do about it?
Thank you, Joydeep. Always a pleasure and honor to be with you, and very happy to see Girja also here, and a lot of you here whom I know so well. So it's such an honor and pleasure to be with all of you. When you say a fireside chat, an insurer gets very nervous. Where is the fire? No? So, and how big is the fire, and what is the mitigation happening? But coming to measurements, the question that you ask, I don't think that we should be obsessed about how does the world measure in terms of insurance penetration, or how does the world measure in terms of GDP, and what is, your penetration is 1% and the world is at 4%. I don't think that is the matrices we should be at all worried about. Our worry should be that have we been able to cover every Indian? Does any Indian become poor because they didn't have a health cover? Does any industrialist who wanted to become the Ambanis, or the biggest industries of the world, their ambition gets killed in the very beginning because of a flood, or like a Sikkim flood, and the person who was building up an SME, MSME, and on the road to become an entrepreneur gets completely destroyed. I think we have to put the fact that the insurance industry is very critical for any nation to become progressive. And our obsession should be, if we see any incident happening in which we see the economic loss is much more than the insured loss, and then what has happened to people who could not get compensated, we should be worried about that. And I think that is the story which should come to us in a way to push us towards that kind of level. So if you are able to cover every citizen of the country, that is a huge reaching impact. And that, if it translates to a GDP percentage as the matrices that the world looks into, I'm fine, but I think it's a more Western concept because it's linked to GDP and the per ticket size. In the Indian context, I think our obsession should be about, are we taking care of every citizen of this country, or are we failing in our duty to do so? I think that is what obsession should be.
Absolutely, great point. So if I can ask you to pinpoint, I mean, you've been thinking about it, acting on it. What is the one thing, if the industry does or policymakers do, I mean, completely open format, which can make the biggest difference, which can swing this entire thing to make people insure all their homes, insure their liabilities, insure their professions, and their health and their assets, all put together?
I think broadly the biggest thing which I feel, which is not in the right direction is, and when I look at the media, and if I look at the parliamentary questions come together, is people see insurance industry very differently from the way it should be seen. Insurance industry is an extension of the government of a country in bringing social welfare and marking a difference to people's life, and which has it is like a cyclic thing which brings back to the government higher economic growth and a higher GDP growth rate. Let me explain this perspective. I think the day we are able to establish this in every policymaker's mind, I think that day we would have achieved what we are trying to achieve. See, and this report everybody knows in the World Health, and I think you only in your avatar as a consultant have also spoken about it, that about 10 crore Indians go below poverty line every year because they have health issues in their family which they could not afford, and they have to sell off whatever they had, and then if something goes wrong, they're not able to recover that. Now, the impact of bringing 10 crore people above poverty line is close to 1.5% of GDP, which is happening now. Now let's say if you have health for all in the country, not only is from a social perspective much better, but if India is growing at 6 to 7%, it adds about 1.5% to the growth itself. It's become the 8.5% growth to the Indian economy. It is a virtuous cycle. Now, if I look at a lot of work has happened for below poverty line, some states have gone for health for all, but I think the publicity is still not there. But one simple move, like you asked me, one thing can be done. If I look at developed nations like US, they have a clear mandate that every employer mandatorily has to insure every employee, whether in a formal sector or an informal sector. Now, if that gets done, the question may come that the employer may say it's expensive. Why is it so? A government health, we know the premium of that comes to about what, 2,000, 3,000 rupees a year for a floater policy with pre-existing disease, and let's say a sum insured of 5 lakh rupees. Now, let's say even if you have a domestic help, Joydeep, and if you have to pay, let's say 200 rupees more in a month, to cover the entire family in the government scheme which is there, and you're allowed to plug into that, and you also get an income tax rebate, would you say no? I'll be surprised who will say no. If the company is allowed to make it part of the CSR, I'll be surprised who says it's a burden. Just a simple announcement by the government in which they say that it's mandatory for every employer to insure every employee for health. Would take care of the missing middle of 30, 40 crores also, which takes care. Will take care of the GDP growth of the country. It will also ensure that nobody goes below poverty line. Just one simple announcement. Doesn't cost the government extra anything. Since you asked me this question about one announcement, if I had to think, I would actually do that, and the budget is already coming.
No, great point, and this brings one thing into prominence. Many people look at insurance as a fiscal tool. It is an economic tool. It's clearly an economic tool where the interplay of various parts of the economy has to be understood so that the right policy moves are made, and therefore everything and nothing can be all left to chance, because as you rightly said, it's a social security. It cannot be left to always volition and watch an industry grow. So coming back to a kind of a related point, in these 3 decades of your career, it's a little more personal to you, but maybe that will give everyone insight. We always talk about insurance has to be accessible and affordable. Now, I want to keep the affordability aside. And maybe that I'll link with your answer to the previous question in the next question. But about accessibility and relevance, what do you think has been, your biggest learning achievement in making accessibility and relevance happen?
No, I think both are very relevant. And if I remember right, you had come up with the 3A concept also of accessibility, affordability, and there was one more A that you spoke about, which I remember. But let's talk about accessibility first. See, insurance is something, and that's why I tell a lot of investors, a lot of people who set up companies, and a lot of leaders in insurance who have not come from the industry. The moment you try to copy-paste an FMCG model to insurance, or an e-commerce model to insurance, you normally fail. And globally, if you look at some of the big companies which came up with this model, and they thought that the insurance industry is not doing enough, and this model would succeed, and fast forward 5-10 years, after billions of dollars being spent in capital, they have not been successful. I think the fulcrum or the point they miss is, and the question to all of you sitting here, and you all are insurance experts, most of you sitting here, is when did you get up to buy insurance any day? Any day of your life. And across the globe, you ask this question, nobody will tell you that they got excited to buy insurance and they said, today we'll go and buy insurance. Insurance gets sold when somebody has a conversation with you. It's a conversational sale. When somebody has a conversation, you realize the importance of it. And then you buy. It's a distribution-led business. I think if we remember this, then to increase accessibility, our high focus on distribution should be there. In countries, in markets where distribution explodes, the penetration of insurance would move up. I think we already submitted a report to the regulator, and regulator also has mentioned that they would be coming up with distribution reforms, and whatever I understand of the act that is pending in for the parliament for change, there is a mention of distribution opening up also coming there. So if you ask me one particular thing, Joydeep, respect for distributors, opening up distribution and giving them ease, access and learning, and the high level of empathy to understand the impact they make on society, and the government's empathy to understand that insurance is a critical tool for them in social upbringing or uplifting of the country, and the GDP growth also, the economic growth, is what the entire thing would lead to the accessibility point that you're talking about.
Yeah, the third A was awareness, so that's where the push-pull thing gets addressed a bit, but I'll come back to that. See, we sometimes look at technology as a solution to everything. Distribution, cost, efficiency, customer service. How do you think insurers today should look at technology? Because there are monolithic technologies, there are many things that people have to do sometimes, but how do you think people should look at technology to make it really speak for itself and translate that to make insurance easy to buy, easy to sell, and therefore remove the barrier?
Technology is an animal which moves so fast that if you are not in love with it and not experimenting with it, you'll be left behind. So first, now let me see if I have the signal here. I'll demonstrate something. Now, most of you have seen it, but you'll have real good fun. I'm sure you heard about ChatGPT, right?
Everyone has.
Everyone
but how many
has,
of you have
yeah.
used it?
Yeah.
Any show of
All
hands?
of you have used it?
Oh,
Okay.
quite a bit. Very
So
good.
Let me demonstrate and see if you have used it like this. Hey, ChatGPT.
Hi there. Sure, I'm ready to see your demonstration. How can I help?
Yeah, ChatGPT, I'm in a conference with a lot of industry insurance experts here, and they're asking me a question that how should technology be used by in the insurance industry, and is it relevant at all, or they should not use it? What's your view on this? Can you just help me answer this question?
Absolutely. Technology can be highly beneficial in the insurance industry. It can improve customer service through chatbots and AI, streamline claims processing, and enhance risk assessment using data analytics. It's definitely relevant and can lead to better efficiency and customer satisfaction. Would you like more details on any specific area?
Yeah, I have some friends from Tamil Nadu. They don't understand what you just said. Can you just sum it up in Tamil for me?
காப்பீடு தமிழ் துறை தொழில்நுட்பம் மற்றும் முக்கியமானது. இது வாடிக்கையாளர் சேவையை மேம்படுத்த, வேகமான வழக்கறிஞர் செயல்பாடுகளை எளிதாக்க மற்றும் தரவு பகுப்பாய்வு மூலம் ஆபத்தை மதிப்பீடு செய்வதில் உதவுகிறது. இது மிகவும் தொடர்புடையதாகும் மற்றும் திறனையும் வாடிக்கையாளர் திருப்தியையும் மேம்படுத்த உதவுகிறது.
I have some Gujarati friends also. Sorry, I'm bothering you, but just a bit of Gujarati also.
કોઈ સમસ્યા નહીં. વીમા ઉદ્યોગમાં ટેકનોલોજીનો ઉપયોગ ખૂબ જ ફાયદેમંદ છે. તે ગ્રાહક સેવા સુધારવા, ક્લેમ્સ પ્રક્રિયાને સરળ બનાવવા અને ડેટા એનાલિટિક્સ થકી જોખમનું મૂલ્યાંકન કરવા માટે મદદરૂપ છે. તે ખૂબ જ સંબંધિત છે અને સારી કાર્યક્ષમતા અને ગ્રાહક સંતોષ તરફ દોરી શકે છે.
I have a friend who wants to buy a surety bond. Can you just convince him in Bengali to buy one?
I can definitely help explain the benefits of a surety bond in Bengali. However, convincing someone directly might be more effective coming from you.
Okay, I'll try to
Here's
do
how
that. You just do the convincing part in terms of the features, ChatGPT.
Sure. Here's how you can present the features. Surety bond आपके बिजनेस को निरापद रखते हैं. एटी एक प्रतिश्रुति दे कि आपका काम सटीक भावे संपन्न होगा. एटी ग्राहक ते विश्वास जय करते सहायक एवं कोनो झूम की धाकलों से टिकम है.
Thank you. I'm just running short of time, but you are wonderful as usual. Thank you for helping me. Thanks a lot.
You're very welcome. Good luck with everything. If you need any more help, just let me know.
I will ChatGPT. Say, did anyone of you try selling any feature, any product, any language? It was a live demo. If the signals were not there, not work. I just put it on. It's nothing like I prepared for it. Because Joydeep and me, our conversation, you never know which direction it goes.
Exactly.
I can never come prepared to answer his questions. So you just saw it's so powerful. I don't know how many of you actually use ChatGPT the way I demonstrated to you. Other than just using it like a Google. Technology moves at such a massive pace. You call me after 10 days again, and I'll use it again at a much different pace than what you saw just right now, in just 10 days' time. How many of you heard about Google's quantum computing, Willow?
Yeah.
You heard about it? Do you understand what does it mean? That quantum computing chip, any idea what does it mean? What computers takes years to do, the supercomputers, it will do in 5 minutes' time.
There is a session just before this.
The session before this? Okay, so you're aware about it. Yeah. Now, if you're not thinking about how to use it in your business, it will just finish up. So technology, to my mind, Joydeep, has so many users. You should be super excited like a child.
Yep.
And see how do you use it.
Exactly, and whenever Tapan and I speak, we speak 4 times as much, so 15 minutes is just not enough. But the last thing, and maybe we'll round it about, you see, we extending technology. In the previous session, we talked about use cases of this, all these modern technologies which are coming, will come, how they can be trivial, how they can be useful, how they can also be destructive. So, if there's one advice you want to give to young professionals who are looking at insurance as a career, and sometimes we lament that not enough talent is coming into the industry, what would be that one advice you'll give them which will not only make them great professionals, but as a whole India will benefit?
One, have high level of empathy. Feel for the suffering of people of your country.
Yeah.
Feel for the suffering of people around you. Feel it from your heart. And I promise you will be the best insurance professional that the world has seen. No, I think that's as simple as that, no? And just feel it. Once you feel it, I've yet to see a person who feels for something, does not stand to make a difference for that thing. I think our country requires massive amount of people with high level of empathy. And luckily, ChatGPT will not be able to do that. And your job will be rocking and moving ahead. Always a pleasure, Joydeep.
Thanks, Tapan. Always, as always. And this probably is a great segue to the next session. So over to the, where's the compare gone? Yeah. And maybe we can
ask a few questions. Somebody has a question.
Some questions too. Here, anybody? Any questions?
Yeah,
yes,
please.
Raghu. Yeah. You need a mic? Yeah.
You have to repeat this question so that Joydeep.
Take this one and you will use that one.
Thanks. So question, Tapan, is if you look at US market, right? I just did a chat GPT. It says 5,900 plus insurance carriers are there for a 350 million plus population. Domestic, international, life, health and life. Now, if you look at India, we are around 55, 60 plus for a 1.45 billion people. Now, what is your view? Should we really look at seriously how do we increase the penetration of insurance companies in India, which I believe it is very important and very critical. And second thing is you also spoke about technology usage, right? Now, I worked for the US and European market for a decade plus. Their adoption and the usage POS is very, very advanced than what we are, even though we are incubation of the insurtech and fintechs happening. But still, we don't see so much of growth or the varieties of use cases coming out from the industry. I just wanted to know your viewpoint. 2 questions on the insurance companies and on the technology.
Well, thank you. I think both very close to my heart. If you look at some of my interviews, even 5-6 years back, I did mention this point that in India, we should have at least 3,000-4,000 insurance companies. It should be there. And I'm very happy with our current regulator and our chairman, IID. I think if you look at, he's also pushing in that direction, opening up in terms of the capital requirements or the requirements of the insurance companies should be there. A country like India requires thousands of insurance companies. They should be there. And the more the merrier, because when you have high competition, it pushes you to excellence. It pushes you to think more, innovate more and push that. On the tech part, if I again see, the problem, I think for a US tech company or in putting it in India is that it will always be a large volume, low margin business. Whatever, if the insurance business is also large volume, low margin business. Indian market is like that. I think in Western market companies, when they look at Indian market, this is the bridge that for them it gets difficult to cross. The ones which have crossed this have become very successful. They have really done very well. So when I look at an insurtech, I look at somebody who's working in insurance part, they have to just keep in mind 2 things. One, it will require an element of human touch. A pure online methodology has not been successful globally across minus 1 or 2 products. It will require a human touch. If they keep that in mind. And second, it will require a huge amount of transparency and delivery at the time of promise, which is the claim part. The moment you're able to take this into mind and prepare for like millions of transactions happening at a hyper speed and put that together, then you have cracked the secret sauce of operating in a country like India. So a lot of people, when they try to do a copy paste of the e-commerce part, I think that is where it doesn't click to a likable scale. And the other thing on tech you should do is now integrate all this AI into everything that you can think of. In terms of the insurance market, if you want to build businesses on that, in my view, that will become super successful with all this quantum and all coming in and speed moving up. I think that will be very transformative in terms of the reach and pushing it together. So I'm also looking forward to, and I hope that it happens with the bill pass and the attractiveness of the market, that we have at least 3,000-4,000 insurance companies. We have high amount of insurtech and put together. And everything will coexist. Every company will do well, everything. But the sensitivity, the empathy, the solutioning, which I mentioned, and large volumes and numbers is what has to be cracked upon. I think that should work, is my view on this.
And finally, technology doesn't take away jobs, it creates jobs. Even electricity coming, SBI had a strike.
I'll answer this. I think Girja is also here.
Yeah.
When we were I started from New India, and currently she's a CMD of New India. That is why. So when I was in New India, and I was the IT head also at that time. That was in the year 92, 93. Computerization had to happen. And there was a massive strike by the union saying computers will take away jobs. I don't know how many of you remember that. And sorry? You remember, yes? Huh? And one of the negotiation, what happened was a computer allowance was given. You remember? About 120 rupees or something per month was given for acceptability of computerization. Just to make it happen, And I tell my operations head today, in my time, in a manual time, the typist issued 100 policies a day. Today, the actual productivity of data entry operators is about 40 policies. So 2.5 times jobs have got created compared to what it was from manual times. I've never seen technology take away jobs, but I've seen the discussion happen in my tenure at least 2-3 times.
Always.
Every time I've seen increase of job. But some jobs got lost. Can you think which jobs got lost? Stenographer. You don't see stenographers now. It was a very important part of our office earlier, People who moved from being a typist to a data entry operator and learned some programming, they actually made much more money than what they did as a typist. The evolution of jobs happened, more jobs get created. If you're stuck, the way you're working is where you destroy yourself. The jobs don't go, jobs get created. That has been my experience.
In fact, computers, you can think that they are at least intelligent. People can think they can take away jobs. But remember in the 1940s, when electricity came to state bank branches, people went on strike against electricity because the pankha pullers would lose their jobs. Well, things happen like that, but life goes on, industry goes on, and it's up to us to take advantage, not only of technology, but also for this session and great thoughts shared with Tapan. Thank you. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Tapan.